I'm always trying to lean on searching for the humanity of the characters or utilizing the tools of the genre in order to affect something that does make people a little nervous, right? Or feel a certain way while watching the movie.
I watched the film and it is a beautiful one from start to finish. It's powerful, it's terrifying, it's so many great things. I know you've talked before about what drove you to want to deliver your own take on Frankenstein, but I'm curious, I feel there's such a reverence for the horror genre throughout the movie. And I know you made a short horror before, but where do you think that love of horror first started for you?
I think it started in my home when I was a little boy, and my sisters would show me horror movies and scare me. And and for whatever reason, I must have just been a glutton for pain because I kept watching it. It started with movies like Leprechaun and Nightmare on Elm Street and Child's Play. Like I was watching those, and the monsters, they just like scared the hell out of me. Right? They even gave me nightmares, but I kept doing it. And then I evolved like years later, started watching like Sixth Sense, was scared the hell out of me in the theaters. And then once I started like actually seeing movies as a art form as well as like a, entertainment, like it just made me dig even deeper into like horrors. And like I found weird stuff like the Poughkeepsie tapes and like I watched that and like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Black Christmas. It's just been a never ending. And then even now I'm like digging into like crazy stuff with like Julia Ducournau's like Raw and Titan and Ty West's Pearl. Of course, you got Peele's Get Out, as well as why am I blanking on it? Hereditary and The Witch. Like, it's just such a incredible genre. And I think it's having an incredible moment right now too.
I couldn't agree more. And I love kind of how you just listed everything. It covers such a wide range of themes and material. And I especially love how this story covers some really heavy material in addition to some of those, more entertaining horror elements, let's say. Yeah. You've talked before about how you wanted to get behind the monster or the mind behind the monster for this one. And I'm curious, though, what it was like for you in the writing process, really trying to find a way to balance some of those timelier themes of institutional racism and grief with some of those more fantastical horror elements.
I think that like you're always trying to all the movies that I love, that I aspire to try to one day make something as great as them, because that's what we're always chasing that, right? We'll never catch it, but I still think the act of chasing it is still what I need to be doing, right? Like, so, and all those films always have these strange horror and like have these weird social commentary in the middle of them somewhere. Like, I think of Black Christmas and how there's like a pro-life and pro-choice debate in there, right? Like in the middle of that movie and things like that. And so like, with that being said, it was really just me kind of like watching these movies, breaking them down, and like even thinking about myself and how I can connect to the humanity of the characters, right? Like, because to me, that's how I'm able to, or at least I hope I was able to transfer these kind of thematics with ease, because I'm always trying to lean on searching for the humanity of the characters or utilizing the tools of the genre in order to affect something that does make people a little nervous, right? Or feel a certain way while watching the movie.
Well, you captured it well because every one of the characters in this film feel very real and very enthralling to watch. But with that said, with trying to find the humanity behind each one, who would you say was the easiest and who would you say was the toughest to really, capture that humanity for?
I think like probably between like Kango and his crew, they were like, I was like always searching to find a human way into what they were saying and what they were doing, because a lot of times those characters are very just, people kind of just, write them off as either stupid or just like villainous. And they're not really looking at where they're coming from with things, you know. So to me, that was probably the toughest one to try to find, and I hope that it comes across as found, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and so with Kango in particular, I mean, we briefly get to see some of what's motivating him in the latter third of the film, and I'm curious if there was ever, whether it be in the writing or even in the filming, a further exploration of that dynamic for him, for him,
Between him and Leia, or him and
between him and his mother or his grandmother that he's taking care of.
yeah, like what's you're saying, a further like exploration of that?
Yeah, I'm curious if there was in the writing process or in the filming, if there was any more of that explored.
Oh yeah, I mean moments like that, because there's a lot of stories that I really love where it's just like someone does one thing, right? And then you just look at them completely different forever, right? And I love that in storytelling. Like I always think about, there's a moment in Mad Men. I think it's God, I don't want to mess up her name. I think it's Christina. Is it Christina Hendrick? Like,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, okay, yeah, the red hair, and like, you know, when you're first watching this, you're kind of like, man, she's really mean. You know, like she's really mean. But you know, you're rolling with it and you kind of don't like her that much or whatever. But then she has that one episode where they actually give her something she might care about, which is like, I think it's like the movie division or the cinema division of their department, like marketing for that. And she really gets into it. And then at the very end, they just take it away, right? They're just like, all right, you know, they go away. And then she goes home and she takes her clothes off and you see her take her strap off and you see like the imprint of the stress, you know, and you just like, I never hate her again or after that. And I don't have to see anything else. You know what I mean? I was just like, after that, I'm just like, oh no, like, yeah, I'm with her. Doesn't matter. She can be mean to whoever. I was like, I love this character. I love her. I see what she's going through from just like one moment, you know? And so it's like, I really love when that happens, you know, where it just changes the dynamic of everything they say. Now, everything that they've said before has a different color to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And when you frame it like that, I actually like that you then didn't explore further with the grandma. I think that it actually works perfectly in giving a new perspective for Kango. Yeah. But in addition to your writing and direction, I mean, no film is complete without a great cast, and everybody that you've picked for their roles in this are incredible. And I'm curious, you know, especially with Layla, given she carries so much of the film, what was it like really finding the perfect person to be your lead?
I mean, we were searching and then she just came in and gave an audition, and just like, I just remember sitting there and just being like, who am I dealing with right now? Like, is this real? Right? Like, this person is like so phenomenal, right? Like, she was just incredible in the audition. And then on top of the audition, she just kept like pulling more, like, you know, it's just like more emotion, more vulnerabilities out, more dimensions. Like every time we would like do a scene together, she would just pull more and more and more out. And I was just like, she just has everything like that that the movie needs, you know? And I loved that about her. And it was an easy choice. You see her and you're just like, yeah, I can't see it any other way.
I've loved Chad since first seeing him in The Walking Dead, but then I've also interviewed him and I see how like big of a teddy bear he can be in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously actors, that's their job, but I'm curious what that's like for you as a director, you know, to see the flip of that switch, especially in a scene that's so well performed as the lecture to the teacher that he gives.
Yeah. No, I think that Chad was phenomenal. Like he's such a veteran, right? Like he kind of comes in and does his thing, right? And he's great. I love what Chad did. You know, it's like he was incredible to work with, and just so easygoing. And like you said, teddy bear, and like he's a phenomenal. But yeah, and just the cast in general as well. Like after them, like everyone just really turned up. This was a lot of people's first feature. It was a lot of people's first feature, and they really brought the heat with it.
Well, speaking of first features, I mean, it's yours as well, in the director's chair after, directing a number of shorts. And I'm curious what that was like for you, that experience of going into a full project, especially knowing that it was your script that you were getting to bring to life.
I mean, it's crazy that we're even having this conversation right now, to be honest. It's just, I don't know, like you hope your thing gets made. It's like, but you don't know. Like, it's like, so you're kind of just running around. And then now we're here, what I'm talking about. And it's like, a movie comes out in a week. I think this is probably going to release when it's like, when it's like coming out. But yeah, like it's a crazy experience, and I'm so fortunate, to be able to sit in this position to actually have a movie under my belt that'll be in theaters June 9th.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, right. For people to check out, and I hope that people come out, and I hope that people see it, and that it resonates with people, because that's the final, the final stage in the build of it.
I really hope they do as well, because there's such a wonderful message behind all the entertainment that's in the film. It's got a lot for them. And so then what was it like when you heard the news that Shudder was getting involved with the project as well, given they have such a big following in the horror genre fandom?
Oh man, Shudder is if you're in Shudder's hands, and you're just like, okay, we good. Like, and it's also just fortunate to know that we have such a great home. A lot of films aren't fortunate enough to have a home, right? So they don't know where they're going to live. And then wherever they live, they don't know if they're going to be able to be seen where they live, and the fact that this movie has not only a home, but also a home that caters to such a fantastic fan base, it's like an audience. Like the horror audience, I feel like has been trashed for a long time, and now we're starting to get our, it's like our comeuppance, or like our, people are starting to recognize that we're not crazy. Like these movies are incredible, and it's like the fact that I get to, this film gets to live in that as a home, like is just, words can't describe, it's just, I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that we get a home there. And I hope audiences on the Shudder place like respond to it,
I hope they do as well. And I mean, it like you say, in a time where a lot of streaming material is going by the wayside, it's nice that it's going to have a permanent home to live alongside so many projects. And one of the things that I love about the movie for the horror genre is your devotion to practical effects throughout the film. I mean, it is jarring at times to see how shocking a lot of it gets. Was that something that you wanted to go even further with, or was that something that you always felt you had the right amount of practical effects for in the film?
I think that, like, I shout out to Christina Cordum. She was she did all the gore, and she did the creature design, like practical of that as well. She was a one-woman band and just did a phenomenal job. But no, I mean, I think it's a balance, like, because once you start getting into too much gore, which is fine for some movies, it's like it becomes a different kind of movie. And to me, like, the kind of movie I wanted was for, like, when you see the gore, for it to be striking, for it to snap, and so, like, being able to pick and choose how you see it, and like whether it's too much or too little was very precise to me, because I wanted a certain amount. I didn't want it to be a giant, like, gore fest. Like, it's like I wanted, when you see it, for it to like really leave an impression, and then we get some space before we get another one, right? Like, so I wanted it to be like a gore horror movie, but not I don't know. It's like, y'all know the line. I think horror movies, like, they know the line between the movies that are just like, man, this is like fucked up all the time, right? Versus like, more, what's it called? Clinical, I think, is the worst. So
no, I think one moment that comes to mind with how you just described it is the dead officer, because that's a moment, that's an image that sticks out. given the level of gore that's there, but
Yeah.
in a good way, in a
Yeah.
way that works for the film. But I also just love the visual look of this film. I mean, some of the sequences, like watching the monster come out of the apartment with the flashing back and forth, or the slow motion at the very opening. I mean, what was it like really finding the right look to go with this film?
Well, really, it was the collaboration between my cinematographer Daphne and I, like really talking about what we wanted to achieve with this, and me talking to her and telling her like, look, I want this to have a distinct look and feel, like some of these 70s horror movies that I love have like a texture to them that I love, and I want to bring that to life. And then she went and found some offbeat lenses that were really cool. And you mix that with our incredibly talented colorist, Ariana, and she came on board and just started really bringing things to life too. So just like the mixture of both of them, like really kind of going ham on this was just remarkable, so I just I loved that. So it was really just a collaboration between all of us, which was fantastic.
The holy trinity of you just nailed the style. I love it.
Thank you.
Now, as much as a story like this could easily sit on its own, there's also such a realm of possibility to further explore the story in the future. And I'm curious, do you see this as a standalone story, or would you be interested in revisiting these characters and this world down the line?
For me personally, it's always going to become a question of just like where the story is going to go, and do I feel like it's appropriate, obviously, because sometimes they be making extra stories and I'm just like, I don't know why this exists. So as long as I can answer the question of why do I feel like this exists, like then there's that, then of course that can happen. But for right now, I do see it as standalone for right now until unless a story comes to me. Then like for now, I see it as a standalone piece. But who knows? It's just like if the audiences want, so it's just like I could dig deeper and search more, see and find out. So we'll see what happens.
Never say never in this industry. Never say never.
Yeah.
So
somebody else, right?
Exactly. So what else do you have coming up after this? I mean, I am so intrigued to see what you work on next, whether it be in this genre or another. So can you tell me a little bit about what else you're working on?
Yeah, no, I got a script. Buyer's market. We're ready, baby. Best way I can explain it is Juice meets Lord of the Rings. And so, I'm stepping into the fantasy space, or, possibly the dark fantasy space, horror fantasy, if you will. Yeah, I'm excited about that one. So hopefully that's coming soon to you.
Well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed for you on that one. And I really cannot wait to boost the word about this film. I think people, like I've said it a lot this interview, but I mean, I do think people are going to love it. So thank you, Bomani, so much for taking the time to chat. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Thank you.